All right, everybody, warm welcome. Good to see you all. See Soumya there, the TVS Subramaniam, Nalini is there, Mino, and lots of other friends. Deepthi is here, Dolly, Gayatri. Mansi is also here. Hi, Mansi, how you doing? Mona is here. Prachi is here. Wonderful. Good to have you all. Great, let's take a moment just to settle in. So may I be a mouthpiece for something each one of us needs to hear, including myself. May this session remind us of something we need to remember. Reconnect us with something very fundamental, very primal. And most of all, let us move us from incoherence to coherence. Sometimes I'm criticized for using big words. So from being all distorted, distracted, all over the place, to being streamlined. So may it create coherent state within us, streamlined state within us. That's the intention. Your eyes can be open or closed as you participate in today's session. I offered a WhatsApp course called Vibration Experiment. Many of you were part of that. And I got many messages from people telling me about significant shifts that happened to them over the course of a week, over the course of 10 days. And of course, we can say it's a coincidence and everybody has a shift at some point. In my own experience, when we do shift from just being dispersed to being more focused on what truly inspires us, expands us, then these things tend to happen more often. And there seems to be a deeper law at work, deeper principle at work. So all that we've been doing in this vibration experiment is shifting from focusing on what we don't like, don't want, to what we do want. And then most of all, coming into the feeling state like it's already so. It's also called this, some people call this science of miracle. Being grateful, thankful for what you want, even before it happens. And for many of us, this is not new information. We've heard this before. But there's a big difference between knowing something and living something, as we know. So as many of us practice this, very interesting shifts began to happen. And that's my intention for today as well, that instead of just talking about things, instead of being in the realm of theory, let's come to practice. And let's go from an incoherent state, a very dispersed state, to a streamlined and coherent state. I love this example of like there's a lamp right here. This bulb is giving out light in all directions. But the same amount of energy, if you were to put into a laser, that laser has tremendous power. It can cut through things. The amount of energy doesn't change. And an experiment I'm sure you did in school was with the magnifying glass and the sun's rays. We all had fun with the experiment. You have to focus the sun's rays onto a piece of paper. And very quickly, it doesn't take long, paper starts to burn. Surprising. This light has been shining on this paper all along, nothing happened. But the moment you put the magnifying glass, it began to burn. So in the same way, the light of our mind, light of our awareness, can just be dispersed, and we can live a normal life with ups and downs. And as we learn to focus this with love, with joy, then very beautiful shifts can happen. And I encourage people to do this in a more playful way, not with very heavy expectations. Oh, I did this, nothing happened. Well, then you're waiting for something to happen. Do it in a more playful way. And the playful way to do it is that you do it so wholeheartedly that that experience is complete in itself. Nothing more is needed. It's a very complete experience. And some of you heard me talk about this before. There's a beautiful word in the Greek language, miraki. Miraki is to pour yourself into what you're doing. So a little bit of you is left in that forever. And perhaps each of you have done this at some point in your life. Maybe you were doing a creative project. Maybe you were teaching. Maybe you were exercising, playing a sport. And you poured yourself with so much curiosity, wonder, love, that you put a little bit of yourself in that forever. And a little bit of that was in you forever. A living thing. What a wonderful way to approach life. That we pour ourselves into whatever we're doing. And this brings us into a state of flow. This is even beyond, you might have heard of this term, being a witness, witnessing your life. But this goes beyond being a witness. When you're witnessing, it's like you're here, the river is there. I'm witnessing the flow. But one step beyond that is to become the flow, to become the river. And this is where this conflict between, the spiritual teaching is reduce your desires, don't have desire. And the worldly teaching is be ambitious, hustle, have goals, set goals, achieve goals. And they seem to be in total contradiction. The teaching of intention, the teaching of attention. But actually, this is the point where they meet. You become, it's not like you're desiring, life is desiring. And instead of waiting for it to happen, instead of putting time and space between you and what you desire, you become one with it. And in a way, you're tapping into, you might want to call it your limitless self, your multidimensional self. Just like you have a bigger playground to play in, no longer so limited. So one wonderful teaching, which comes from Kashmir, is about the 7 limitations, one of my favorite teachings. The 7 limitations, the 7 ways in which we limit ourselves. So let's just practice this together. I think it's 6, but maybe I can come up with one more. All right, so the first one is the limitation of time. So all the ways in which you feel time pressure, Like, for example, even right now, as this call was starting, I normally stream this on YouTube, but I was getting some error from YouTube. So it took me 3 or 4 minutes to start the call. So you can feel the pressure or time. It's time. It's time to start the call, but I'm not able to get into YouTube. And that has a particular, I'm sure you've had that, that, oh, you're getting late for a movie, getting late for an appointment, getting late for college, school, class, something. And the limitation of time, all the ways you and I feel limited by time, trapped by time, that there is only so much time in a day. Or you've lived X number of years, maybe you've lived 20, 30, 40 years, and you imagine you have so much time left. All the ways in which you limit yourself by time. You think you're a creature of time, you exist within time. So according to this teaching, this is one of the ways you lose track of your limitlessness. You swallow the poison of time. One of the best things I learned, which applies to all aspects of my life. What the thinker thinks, the prover proves. Yatha drishti, tatha shrishti. If you think you are trapped by time, limited by time, it's true. You are. And if right now you do an experiment with me and say, who am I without the limitation of time? So do this practice. Eyes can be open or closed. Who are you without the limitation of time? You're no longer bound by time, no longer bound to an age, bound to a particular century, bound to a particular period in history, no longer slave to minutes and hours and seconds. Do it as a thought experiment. Who are you without the limitation of time? Something happens, something very significant happens. Can you allow yourself a taste of the timeless? What is beyond time? It has a very specific fragrance. Who are you if you are released from the prison of time, the prison of your age, the prison of clock time, the prison of the calendar, appointments, how much you think you can do and how much time you have? Once in a while, it's important to step out of this concept of time. This moment is a great moment to go beyond moments. Entire universes can come and go. You are beyond time. Thinking in this way does something. Second limitation is of space. Space also includes location. All the ways you feel bound and limited to location. Are you in Delhi? Are you in Bombay? Are you in New York? Are you in some city or town or village? Are you inside or outside? Are you in a country? Are you on a planet? Are you in a body? Are you in a male or female body? Are you upstairs or downstairs? All the ways in which you define yourself by location. Are you in the comfortable part of town or the uncomfortable part of town? The safe or the unsafe part of town? The rich or the poor part of town? The fun or the boring part of town? Well, this is all location. All the ways in which you define yourself, limit yourself by location, either location in body, or location in place, or location in geography. All the ways in which you have drunk the poison of location and space, and you've been at the mercy of space. I'd rather be in this space and not at that space. I want more space. Who are you without the limitation of space? Just do this thought experiment. You're not bound by space. You're not limited by space. The assumption that I can only be at one place at one time, who taught you that? What evidence do you have that it's true? Isn't that evidence sensory evidence? What you're seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching? Don't you know by now sensory evidence is not the most reliable? Is it possible that you're not limited by space? You've just trained yourself to imagine that you are. Who are you without the limitation of space? Limitation of location. Preference for location. This has its own unique taste, its own unique fragrance. Freed from the limitation of space, not limited to a planet, to a solar system, to a galaxy, to a universe. Not enslaved by coordinates of any kind. Of course, you may still imagine that you're here in this body. It's just an imagination. You don't have to take it seriously. In this way, you're defocusing from what appears to be real and reconnecting with what's really real. You're looking past the dream, beyond the dream, beyond the dream of limitation. Who are you without the limitation of time and the limitation of space? You may still experience time and space, just not limited by it. It's less than 0.01% of your experience. Many years back, two words came to me, which were very powerful for me. Process denial. What does it mean? Process denial. We usually imagine it's a process. Oh, Nithya, you're saying these things. It'll take me a long time to understand it. This is part of the limitation. This is part of the game. Oh, I'll take a long time to understand. I'll take a long time to become like that. But suppose you say process denial, no process. I deny the fact that there's a process. Wow, it's cut right through it. Process denial. So I'm kind of asking big things from you to step outside of time, steps outside of space. For some of you, this will be like, how is that? How can I do that? Process denial. Just do it. You imagine you can't do it. So imagine you can do it. If you imagined yourself asleep, imagined yourself bound and limited, you can also imagine yourself free. Third limitation, the limitation of attachment. I need to have this in my life to be okay. Without this, I'm not okay. Without these people, I'm not okay. Without these things, I'm not okay. Without these comforts, I'm not okay. This is basic. These are my needs. Without this, I'm not okay. Where did you learn that? Can you see how you have bound yourself by habits, by preferences for food and people and places and things, and how much you've limited yourself? Strong opinions about how things should be. So just for now, just as an experiment, play the game with me. Who are you without all these attachments? I mean, you came into this world practically having nothing. In fact, if you look very carefully, you don't come into this world. This world superimposes itself on you. Who are you without the attachment? Attachment to form, attachment to identities, attachment to experiences. Even spirituality is full of attachments. Attachment to your favorite meditation, your favorite practice, how it makes you feel. Your favorite teacher, teaching, place, practice, sangha. Who are you without all these attachments? Might seem very unfamiliar. Even if you're the most attached person in the world, nothing stops you right now from practicing freedom from attachment. Can you give yourself that gift? Who are you without the limitation of time, of space, and of attachment? Something in you relaxes. Something in you stretches out. Something deep inside of you says, ah, yes, yes, yes. It's like you were living so tight in such a small little room, and the entire universe and beyond is yours. Let's come to the next limitation, the limitation of knowledge. I know certain things, I don't know certain things. If you imagine you know certain things and don't know certain things, you've been bitten by the serpent of knowledge, by the illusion of knowledge. The truth is, what you think you know, do you really know? Really? And what you assume you don't know, is it really true? You don't know it? Really? Who are you without these assumptions? One of my teachers, Ajahn Brahm, lives in Australia. He's a Buddhist monk. And somebody, a journalist, came to him and said, would you mind if I interview you? I write for a shipping magazine. The shipping magazine, these shipping industry has its own magazines. So Ajahn Brahm says, well, I know nothing about shipping, but fine, let's have the interview. And they have this interview. And this article is so loved, it gets reprinted in shipping journals all across the world. This monk really gets us. This monk really makes sense. So even though at one level, Ajahn Brahm had no idea about the shipping industry, but when he tuned into it, what is it like? What is it like to be a sailor? What is it like to be in the merchant navy? What is it like to be a ship's captain? What is it like to be a deckhand? What is the unique experience and challenge and suffering? Can I speak to that? His article was reprinted all over the world in shipping journals. He didn't let the idea that, oh, I know nothing about this industry, I know nothing about sailing and sailors. Very powerful example. What you think you know, you may not know. And what you think you may not know, you may actually know. Who are you without the limitation of knowledge? What if you have access to all knowledge? And you also know the limitation of knowledge. How much have you troubled yourself, tormented yourself? I don't know enough. I should know more. What if they find out I don't know as much as I claim to know? How many ways you have second guessed yourself? How many ways you felt superior to others because you think you know something they don't? This is all part of the limitation of knowledge. It's a poison. It's a limitation. It keeps you trapped, keeps you playing very, very small. Suppose you had the capacity to know anything at any time. If you're truly tuned in, and also the ability to come to innocence, to not know, to have a beginner's mind, to have a fresh mind, to not be limited by what you think and assume you do know. Something very beautiful about that. Like a wise child. Wisdom in a childlike way. So who are you without these four limitations? The limitation of time, the limitation of space, the limitation of attachment, and the limitation of knowledge. Don't have to do this perfectly. Even if you can just touch these things, something very beautiful has begun to blossom in you. A deep relaxation happens. You move from incoherence to coherence. All incoherence comes because of imaginary limitations. And the reason it hurts is every part of your being is saying, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. That's not who you are. And that's why everything is so painful. The fifth limitation is very similar to the fourth one, but slightly different. The limitation of skill, what you think you can do and cannot do. I can write in English. I cannot write in Urdu or Arabic. I can play cricket. I don't know how to play tennis. I can give someone a vitamin pill. I don't know how to give them an injection. All the ways in which you assume you can do certain things and cannot do certain things. This is the limitation of skill. Who are you without this assumption that you're limited in this way? What if within you is the knowledge of how to create entire universes and deconstruct entire universes? You've just forgotten. Who are you without the limitation of skills? Not limited by time, not limited by space, not limited by attachment, not limited by knowledge, not even limited by skill. Some of you will say, oh, this is just imagination. And I'm going to say, What if your limitations are imagination and this is actually more real? And it's just a matter of shifting the weight from one foot to the other. You've been practicing for so long, being limited by time and space and so on. Would you be willing to practice a little, not being limited by these things? And move the weight onto the other foot. Make that more real. What will happen then? What the thinker thinks, the prover proves. When you think one way a long time, it seems to appear real. यथा दृष्टि तथा सृष्टि, जैसे देखेंगे वैसे पाएंगे. बार बार सोचेंगे हम बंधे हुए हैं, जकड़े हुए हैं, तो फिर वही होगा. तो समय की बेड़ियों से मुक्त हों, किसी जगह की बेड़ियों से मुक्त हों, आसक्तियों से मुक्त हों, ज्ञान के बंधन से मुक्त हों. क्या आपकी क्षमता है, क्या कर सकते हैं, नहीं कर सकते हैं, उनकी बेड़ियों से मुक्त हों. What's it like to be free from these limitations? Something in you starts to wake up. It's like you're remembering your inheritance. And when that happens, you don't need validation. You don't need me to tell you you're okay. You don't need any person to tell you you're okay. A certain dignity, a certain deep self-recognition, self-respect starts to arise. Oh, I'm not who I thought I was. The last limitation, sixth one, is the limitation of individuality, imagining you're separate. I'm here, I'm not there. In fact, this is the root limitation. With this sixth limitation come all the other five limitations. When I imagine I'm separate, I'm an individual. Instantly, I'm bound by time, by place, by attachment, by knowledge, and by skill. Who are you without the assumption of individuality? If you look carefully, you're thoroughly interdependent, aren't you? Right now, you're breathing air. A little while back, you must have drunk water, eaten some food. Dependent on the heat of the sun, the help of trees and oceans to purify the air. Dependent on mother and father and friends. Thoroughly dependent. Even your thoughts, what's original here? What you imagine as original is just a rearrangement of other things you've come across. Individuality is such an illusion, but a very persistent one. And it has a certain taste. We start having a certain sense of, oh, I'm like this. I'm a positive person. I'm a negative person. I'm a believer. I'm a non-believer. I'm a skeptic. I'm gullible. I'm enthusiastic. I'm energetic. I'm lazy. I'm a doer. I'm an achiever. I'm unlucky. They all have a taste. And you have your unique combination of things. I'm stylish. I'm not. I believe in myself. I don't. So a combination of all of this is the taste of your own individuality. And that familiar taste is your bondage, is a lie. Who are you without this taste? Who are you without this sense of individuality, separation? Just touch it for 1 microsecond. That's good enough. Put down the whole weight of your story, whole weight of your mind. Whole weight of all your experiences. Put it down like a heavy suitcase. These are the 6 ways that we are taught from this Kashmiri tradition that we limit ourselves, time, space, attachment, knowledge, skill, individuality. And since I mentioned 7 came out of my mouth, let me add one more. Who are you without the limitation of awareness? Awareness. Such a fundamental aspect of our life, isn't it? I'm aware. I see, I hear, I smell, I taste, I touch, I experience. I'm trying to be more aware. I'm trying to live in the now. I'm trying to have mindfulness. I'm trying to meditate. Well, suppose I tell you this is also a limitation. This is also part of your bondage. Who are you without the limitation of awareness? Have you ever looked past awareness? Have you ever dared to question who are you without awareness? Let's do it now. Don't expect an experience. That'll also be awareness. But do it anyway. Nothing will happen, and yet something unforgettable will happen. Who are you without the weight of awareness, the baggage of awareness, the prison of awareness, the limitation of awareness? What happens? Suppose I tell you that awareness is just a bad habit. Focusing on the now and your human experience is just a bad habit. You don't have to be limited by this bad habit. Just play with me. Who are you without this awareness? unafraid of life, unafraid of death, unafraid of happenings, unafraid of disappointment, unafraid of the games people play, unafraid of your destiny, unafraid of astrology, unafraid of planets, unafraid even of being afraid, unafraid of looking good or bad, unafraid of disappointing others and even yourself, unafraid of being confused, unafraid of any emotion, including fear, unafraid of not finding the meaning of your life, the purpose of your life, or finding it and not fulfilling it, or fulfilling it and still feeling empty. Unafraid of all of these things. Awake within the dream, dreaming yourself awake. And also, in a sense, asleep to the illusion. Asleep to the prarabdha karma, allowing this body and mind to do what they have to do. Just unconcerned, unbothered, uninterested. So, this is the blessing of these 7 limitations, recognizing yourself beyond these limitations. Who are you without the limitation of awareness, separation, skill, knowledge, attachment, space, and time? Ha! The first relaxed breath of your life. And sooner or later, your personality will raise its head and say, how can I keep this? How can I remember this? How can I not lose this? And the answer is, it's hopeless. You can't keep this. You can't remember this. You can't control this. You can't get this. It gets you. It gets you. It gets who you think you are. Inviting silence into your brain, Silence into your eyes. Silence into your tongue and mouth. Silence into your ears. Silence into your heart. Inviting silence into your gut. Silence into your spine. Silence into your legs. Silence into your hands. Silence into your entire nervous system. Inviting silence into your cells. Silence into your atoms. Silence into subatomic particles. Silence into the fundamental matrix from which everything is created. We planted an incorruptible seed into the heart of this dream, and nothing can stop it from coming into full fruition, full blossoming. And the good news is there's no homework. So you don't have to remember these things. Don't have to repeat these things. Don't have to keep reminding yourself of these things. If you want to, you can. You don't have to. And that's what's really beautiful. So you have the freedom to even be limited. You have the freedom to operate within limitation, within the limitation of time and space and attachment, all the emotions that come with attachment, within the domain of knowledge and skills and separation and awareness. But something has shifted, something has changed. Some holes have been made. You can never be as completely blinded as you were before. And nothing can take that away. And so it is. And so it is. And so it is. Tathastha. All right. Anybody wants to type something in the chat, they can. Thank you. Beautiful practice. Thank you. Feeling clear. Loved every bit. Thank you so much. Needed this today. Without the thought of limitation, we are limitless, thoughtless self. The feeling of dissolving and becoming one with the cosmos is amazing. Thank you, always an understatement. Then I am nothing, question mark. Even nothing is a concept. Who are you without that concept? Overwhelming expansion. Thank you for sharing your precious time. Truly liberating. Thank you so much. This meditation gave me the taste of real freedom. Feel like I'm floating in nothing. Beautiful. Had a lovely shavasana with your voice in the background. People are having more fun than they're allowed to have. A beautiful vision of being warm in a cocoon. All right, good. Lovely. You're going to make a mayurma together, which is a symbol of infinite love. Bring them down, make a big heart in the air. And make an infinity symbol 3 times. We say together, mayurma. Every time you do namaste, every time you bow down to someone or to yourself, for one micro moment, touch life beyond these limitations. And that would be a true bowing, because the highest in me, the freest in me, the boldest in me bows to the boldest, wisest, and freest in you. And so it is. And so it is. And so it is. All right, everybody. Be well.